Israeli Defense Forces say they're making substantial progress in their goal to destroy the Hamas terrorist infrastructure in Gaza.
The ground offensive is racing against international pressure for a ceasefire and the rescue of the more than 130 hostages still in the hands of Hamas. IDF forces also uncovered one of the largest weapons depots yet found inside Gaza.
IDF troops continue intense close-quarter combat with Hamas terrorists in Khan Yunis and in the north as we continue to dismantle the Hamas terror state.
Israeli forces hitting targets overnight in southern Gaza, while talks on a potential new ceasefire collapse and Israel pulls out its delegation. ABC's Tom Sufi Burrage has the latest now from Sderot, Israel. Tom, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. We're about 3 miles from the Gaza Strip, and we just heard Israeli artillery firing out into Gaza. And about 20 minutes ago, we saw and we heard several rockets being fired from Gaza here into southern Israel, with the death toll in Gaza this weekend quickly rising. This morning, battles raging with Israeli troops on the ground in northern Gaza. The IDF releasing this video claiming it struck terror targets, including Hamas command centers, ammo dumps and tunnel shafts. Overnight, Hamas rockets intercepted over central Israel, with Israel intensifying its bombardment of Gaza. Missiles slamming into a residential building in the south, in video circulating online. The injured rushed into hospitals which can barely cope. For the dead, prayers and grief. This man says, "My brother is gone, his daughter too." More than 700 killed and hundreds more injured in the past 2 days, according to the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry. In total, more than 15,000 killed and rising. Israeli officials insisting they're using leaflets warning residents to leave areas before they're hit, and confirming negotiations with Hamas have completely halted. With the war reigniting, people in Tel Aviv rallying overnight in support of more than 130 hostages still held in Gaza. Well, the fate of the remaining hostages is now more uncertain, but you can feel the determination, the energy here to bring them home. Michael's brother, Or Levy, one of those held. Or's wife, Enav, killed by Hamas on October the 7th. Michael, desperate to get his brother home to his 2-year-old son.
He lost his mother that was murdered there, and his father is kidnapped and is a hostage now. And for us, it's crucial to get him back and to make sure that Almog will have a father. This weekend, Israeli officials predicting a long war. And when it's over, Israel now planning to control security zones around the Gaza Strip to prevent another terror attack like October 7th.
We can't have terrorists on our borders that can just, at will cross over into Israel and butcher our people again. It must be understood the Israeli people will not stand.
In the Middle East tonight, Israel approved an increase of fuel shipments into Gaza as the military steps up its campaign targeting Hamas in the south of the Gaza Strip. And we've now learned it is considering flooding Hamas tunnels. Richard Engel now with late details.
Israel says it's destroying Hamas in Gaza above ground and below, targeting what it says are 300 miles of Hamas tunnels. Military officials showed NBC News videos they say were taken in the northern Gaza city of Beit Hanun. A soldier points to a Hamas tunnel outside of a classroom. Israel has blown up some. Now, a U.S. official tells NBC News the Israeli military is exploring a new tactic, flooding the tunnels with seawater.
We begin in Israel, where the Israeli Defense Forces say they're making substantial progress in their goal to destroy the Hamas terrorist infrastructure in Gaza, as they also close in on a key Hamas terrorist mastermind. As Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem, the ground offensive is racing against international pressure for a ceasefire and the rescue of the more than 130 hostages still in the hands of Hamas.
Israeli military spokesman Daniel Hagari says IDF forces have broken through key defensive lines in Jabalia, Shajaya, and Khan Yunis.
The terrorists are now emerging from underground and are fighting against our forces in face-to-face combat. Our forces are winning and have the upper hand.
IDF forces also uncovered one of the largest weapons depots yet found inside Gaza. The weapons include hundreds of RPG missiles, dozens of anti-tank missiles, and long-range missiles that can reach central Israel. The weapons were located in the heart of a civilian neighborhood. On Wednesday, the IDF showed how Hamas launched a rocket from inside a humanitarian zone. It misfired, but the IDF says it's another example of Hamas using its population as human shields. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the IDF has surrounded the home of Sinwar, the Hamas leader in Gaza.
So his house is not a fortress and he can escape, but it's only a matter of time before we get him.
Netanyahu also reached out to the Red Cross on behalf of the hostages.
We exert pressure to allow the Red Cross to visit our abductees. Further to that, today I spoke again with the president of the Red Cross and told her to turn to Qatar, which has been proven to have leverage on Hamas, and demand the Red Cross visits to our abductors and, of course, the supply of medicine for them.
Israeli forces pushing further into southern Gaza in a new phase of the war, uncovering the largest weapons cache so far in the intensifying fight against Hamas.
The IDF's heavy fighting, airstrikes, and ground operations advancing into the heart of Gaza's second largest city, taking a devastating toll on Hamas, but also on Palestinian civilians. The Israel Defense Forces releasing this video today of a major Hamas weapons stockpile of RPG, anti-tank, long-range missiles, and explosives, and found that they were found near a school and clinic in the Gaza Strip. A smoldering skyline seen here today as Israel steps up aerial strikes and shelling across Gaza, even as new evacuation orders confine civilians into fewer available safe havens. The IDF video showing Israeli forces expanding ground operations into the southern city of Han Yunis in close combat with Hamas.
The IDF says it has destroyed 500 of the 800 tunnel shafts it's uncovered that Hamas built near schools, kindergartens, playgrounds, hospitals, mosques, and civilian homes. The underground city extends for hundreds of miles and houses large quantities of weapons, serving as one of Hamas's most strategic assets in its war against Israel. On Saturday night, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed total victory.
We will continue the war until we achieve all its goals, and it's impossible to achieve those goals without the ground operation.
Netanyahu also rejected the U.S. proposal that the Palestinian Authority take over Gaza after the fighting. Critics point out that the PA still has not condemned the October 7th attacks and is supporting terrorists in the West Bank.
Across the region over the past 24 hours, we know behind me inside the Gaza Strip, Israeli forces are ramping up their airstrikes. They say they targeted 200 different sites overnight, bringing the total number of strikes against Gaza since this war began 59 days ago to more than 10,000. We do know the heavy air campaign inside Gaza is spiking the death toll there. Health authorities at the Palestinian-controlled health ministry say more than 700 people were killed in a 24-hour period over the weekend. Israel also targeting Hamas leadership still this weekend, hitting the Shati battalion and the commander of that battalion inside Gaza, Haitam Kourajari, responsible for carrying out raids into Israeli territory back on October 7th. The Israelis have confirmed they will go after all of the leadership in the northern part of Gaza as they have started to expand their operations to the south. So far, 75 Israeli soldiers have been killed since the ground operation began into the strip behind me. Now, it does come as both the Israelis and the Americans prepare for the possibility of a broader regional conflict.
Strategy of using Gazans as human shields. The IDF says its goal is to help civilians get out of harm's way.
We are giving precise instructions to Gazan residents near Hamas centers of gravity, urging them to temporarily move away from the danger that Hamas puts them in.
This activity right now is happening. I'm watching these videos past week of all the military movements here in America and the positioning of our military is all across in the cities now. And they got into position. They all went quiet and they're even doing more positioning now. And it's not just here. It's happening globally now.
Yes.
So the militaries are kind of like hunkering down and positioning themselves quietly right now. And the video I was listening to, the guy's like, why are they doing all of this? It's almost like they're getting ready for like a starting line. They're all coming to the starting line for something. And like, and people think, and now you're seeing the build up on TikTok, seeing the build up on YouTube. Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. Just get on TikTok and you do 5 or 6 swipes. You're going to find that one guy. Be like, man, it's going to happen anytime, any day. We're going to be terrorist attacks. It's going to be all across the country, and everybody's waiting. And here's the key: everybody's waiting for this one event that sets the whole world on fire. Now, what's the one event that we know that's next on God's prophetic calendar that will set the whole world on fire? Where's that trumpet at, Greg?
Yeah,
the rapture, resurrection.
Play that trumpet. I know God is able to do all things. That is just absolutely a testimony and something that's just so amazing.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
If it is, yeah.
Absolutely.
Haven't we been praying for all this? Remember, over the last month? What was that prayer that we prayed here? That the Muslims, these jihadists, will receive that on the road to Damascus moment, like Saul did.
Yeah.
Okay, these men are probably in position to do what they're going to do. And then collectively in that 200-man unit, these 200 knew each other, obviously, because they were able to collaborate with each other immediately. So basically, Jesus heard our prayer and went to this group that was probably going to cause a lot of trouble for somebody or death, whatever. And that was on the road to Damascus moment now for these Muslims. Trust me, man, those prayers, man, I pray that every day for these guys to receive that, because it's not just about not keeping them from hurting people. It's the fact that they are so far in that doctrine, that false religion of Islam, that the only one that could pull them out of that fire at this point is Jesus Christ himself.